Welcome to Inside the Artist Studio, where we have inspiring conversations with creative people from across the country. Hi, everyone. I'm Beverly Todd from Santa Fe Artist Getaway. And with me today is Natasha Isenhour, who's also a New Mexico resident and one of the most cherished pastel plein air artists here in the state and across the country. Hi, Natasha.
Hi, Bev. Nice to be here.
It's great. So, Natasha's in her home studio, and I can see some of your art behind us. What have you been working on lately, Natasha?
A little bit of everything, actually. I just got back from a big invitational plein air event in Borrego Springs, California. So I've shifted out of that and got done with all my administrative stuff at home and did a snow painting yesterday. So I'm just trying to get back into New Mexico mode.
Uh-huh. So you do travel quite a bit and do plein air across the country. Do you have some favorites or places that are really inspirational?
Well, mostly I've been doing them semi-locally. I've done events in Texas and Colorado and now in California. Toward the end of the year, I'll be doing one another invitational actually in Sedona. Which will be wonderful. So, kind of the regionally I have. Yeah, and I think Borrego probably is my favorite event that I've ever done. It was just a really great time.
Uh-huh. So for people listening who've not done plein air and would like to get into it, do you have any suggestions, recommendations? How do you get started? Where do you know where to go?
Well, I think this will be a shameless plug, I guess. I was president of Plein Air Painters of New Mexico last year, and this year, and the year before, vice president. This year, I'm sitting past president, and this group is a great group, and we kind of had to pull everything onto a virtual scene. Last year it was hard last year. But this year, we're starting to get it opened back up and getting in the groove of how many people you can pull together at one time and those kinds of things. So if I were to suggest anything, I would suggest the membership doesn't cost much. I would just get into the loop in Plein Air Painters of New Mexico, because there's paint outs all the time that beginners or seasoned professionals can do. It's not exclusive for any particular level of talent or anything. And it's a good way to meet with people that have done this, for a long time and know the ropes and, just immerse yourself. That's the best way to do it, I think.
Well, I've found anytime I connect with artists, whether it's a workshop, event, a show, or a festival, artists are so willing to share what they do and how they do things. There's no secrets. It's all about, wow, yeah. Here's let me show you what I do and how I do this. And I know you're the same way. You love teaching and sharing.
One of our sweet students, she was a student once, but she's actually quite a fine painter, Donna Barnhill. She is down in Florida right now with her new triplet grandbabies. And she was out plein air painting this morning and had this woman who seemed really, really nervous behind her and was sort of copying what she was doing out in the field. But it was, it was her first time, one of her very first times out and doing stuff. And Donna was real sweet back to her. And I think that helps, whenever you've got people that have done this stuff before that can tell you some of the most kind of no-brainer things that make the job a lot easier.
Yeah, and sometimes you're right, it's little things like, how do you set up your tray of pastels? Do you organize it by color, or how do you keep things from blowing in the wind? I mean, sometimes it's funny little things that make your art life a lot better, a lot easier.
Absolutely. Cool.
So you're sitting in your home studio, so you also create at home. Show us what you're working on behind you. Tell us what's inspiring you right now.
Well, I mostly work at home. I consider myself very much a studio artist, but out in the open and painting on location is a wonderful teacher. So, I do a lot of both. Would you like me to turn the camera view around? Is that what you'd like?
No, I can see what's behind your shoulder.
Okay, behind my shoulder, I've got, there's a smattering of things. I began my career by doing a lot of architectural things, but they were inside versions. They were all steps and corridors and so forth. And now I'm starting to get back into the architecture, but getting back into it in a way that is more environmental, more where it's sitting and the feeling about it from the outside. Because what I'm always painting is the emotion rather than the place. So I don't paint a noun, I paint a feeling. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's most of what that is, although the one piece in the center bottom, that was created as a result of my residency at Ghost Ranch last year.
Yeah, and talk about that briefly, because I think I read the Ghost Ranch residency program's open right now for applications.
Tell us it is. They're just about to be filled up, and you can go to ghostranch.org on your web and look up the residency program. There's a number of them, and I'm quite sure you can probably get put on a waiting list maybe for next year if there's not space left, but it's filling pretty quickly. And the residency is wonderful, and what it's about is going and letting go of all of your troubles, all of the things that eat at you, all of your administrative things that are always chasing after you or keep you from getting up and going to the easel. It's an opportunity to be off the grid in more ways than one, but you have a little casita to stay in, and half of it is designated studio, the other half is living space, and you're just out in the middle of that beautiful place. It's a remarkable experience, and the thing that separates Ghost Ranch residency from anywhere else in the world is there's no other landscape anywhere else like that. So it's very much a privilege to get to stay there.
And you're painting the same landscape that Georgia O'Keeffe painted, which is, I find, remarkable. And everyone interprets it differently and uniquely.
That's exactly right. And if you're much of a student of O'Keeffe and you look at her work and then you go out and you are a painter, so then you physically work to paint these same things, you can understand why she was so misunderstood in terms of, abstractionist. No, it's that you're trying to present abstract shapes in this very representational format. And it's just very interesting to stand in it and try to do it also.
Yeah, it is. My one visit to Ghost Ranch, it was so impressive because you do see the plateaus, the mountains, everything, the land, the color, and you understand what she was abstracting and interpreting. It is a great experience.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
But if you don't have time to get to Georgia O'Keeffe and Ghost Ranch, you can always come right here to Santa Fe Artist Getaway. And Natasha is teaching here in about a month. Just a second again.
Yep.
The dog has the squeaky toy. Sorry about that.
All good.
Here's the culprit, the squeaky Mr.
I feel your pain. I understand that problem. Yes.
Oh, that's too funny. So Natasha taught 2 workshops here at Santa Fe Artist Getaway last year, and they were just mind-blowing experiences. And Natasha takes such good care of her students and works with them one-on-one. And I think it really is a blessing to be able to study with Natasha. So what do you love about teaching? What gets you jazzed up?
I think what I love about teaching is I make it an individual process, even if I've got 12, 15, 20 people in the class. If I agree to teach a workshop, I'm really teaching as many workshops as there are people in the class. So what gets me jazzed up is seeing where people are starting from and allowing them to start from where they are and grow from that spot rather than expecting everybody to be at a particular level. So I enjoy that because it's a personal journey for me with them and for them.
And you teach for pastels and oils, all mediums, right? Because the basics are the same when you're looking at shape, color, understanding.
My expertise is in oil and in pastel. However, most of the concepts that I'm teaching, about composition and value and temperature and all those things, those are across the board in 2-dimensional art. So it really doesn't matter even if I've had watercolorists in my workshops before. Now, I can't give you any tips and tricks on watercolor, but I can help you with the compositional aspects.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's so true, because the biggest tool I've learned in painting is how to see. And that's everything you talked about, especially the light, the color, the temperature, the contrast. And if you can see that and take it from whatever you're looking at, your inspiration, and get it onto your canvas, then you've got great art.
It's as if we're all born with this great set of binoculars, but so many people never learn how to use them. But when you learn how to tune that in, to find focus into things, once you've crossed over that hurdle, it changes everything about just how you perceive the day to day.
So, Natasha, what would you tell somebody who is kind of hesitant to jump in because they're a beginner or don't think they know as much as other artists? Because I know you work with all levels and you make it comfortable. So how do we encourage them to get into a workshop and start learning?
Well, I think that there's no better teacher than immersion into anything. So I think just simply the action of making a decision and signing up for a workshop, that's a bigger step than actually putting paint to paper, I think. But I would just say that you take, at least in my situation, I teach all levels. I often have first-timers taking a class with people that have painted for some time. But I try to encourage beginners just simply because I tell all my students the only competition in the room is your own last painting. You're looking to do better for yourself, whether that means you're just beginning and jumping off, or whether it means a better painting than one you painted last week. So, it's just to ease their mind that it's not a competitive thing in a classroom like a classroom might be in some other kind of subject.
I think the best advice is you got to show up and create every day, whether you're painting or, just sketching in your sketchbook, drawing, doodling. If you can show up and be creative every single day, your juices are flowing, you get excited. It's like learning to ride a bike. You gotta practice and get on that bike and ride it all the time. So.
That's right, because you're using a different set of tools. So you're right. You just have to show up.
Show up and and it's a lot of fun.
Yes, it is.
It is.
It is.
What inspires you right now? What are you working on that's inspirational that you're saying, oh my gosh, I just gotta do this?
I will get on a jag with a subject sometimes that I can't let go. I painted this one building 3 different times from 3 different angles because I loved it so much. It's just this old broken down building in Truth or Consequences south of here. And I love that building so much, and it generates its own inspiration for me. So after I painted those, then I went to Borrego, and where everyone was painting all these beautiful California mountains, and I was looking at the old abandoned buildings. So I wound up painting a lot of their little buildings around there, and ironically, everyone really responded well to those because they speak to me. So right now, I'm sort of on that architectural thing. Uh-huh. Yeah. Although I intersperse the landscape still, but yeah, comes and goes.
It does. But working in a series like that, or painting a subject from different angles or different daylight, or a series that's similar, does that kind of push you and inspire you? And I mean, what are the benefits of doing that?
Well, it's just, it's like making a recipe more than once, is that you continue to add ingredients and you continue to balance the flavor. And that's sort of the same thing, I think, in painting, is that you grow in your understanding of the subject. Even if you're outdoors painting a different scene every time, you grow in your understanding of that, either with a building linear perspective or outside atmospheric perspective. So if you kind of stick it out with an environment or with a subject through several paintings or through series like that, I think that you begin to really intimately understand your subject. And by the time you've painted the last painting in the series, you've got this this incredible understanding of what you're doing. It shows in the work.
It does. It does. And it is so much more interesting to look at a progression, of a series of buildings that have been painted in different lights or different times a year. It's, for a viewer, it's fascinating. So what do you hope your art says to people, the person that collects and buys your art and sees it? What are you sharing?
Well, what I hear from a lot of my collectors, and I hear exactly what makes my heart happy. I think whenever I'm painting them, I'm satisfying me. And what I'm satisfying is the emotional interest, the emotional allure of the subject, whatever it is. That's what satisfies me. Then, whenever a client or a patron gets a painting and they express to me, I don't give anything away in my verbiage about what it's about or anything. I let them figure it out, And so I think when they express back to me something that resonates with the whole reason I painted it, that doesn't have anything to do with it in adjectives and nouns, then I know that I struck a chord. And that's what I'm after. I'm after touching someone somewhere inside that wakes them up for a second or lets them check out from whatever else is going on for just a second, because it's a remembrance or a feeling or something that transcends what you see.
Mm-hmm. It's something that you can't put words to it. I don't think
that's right.
It touches the heart and the emotion, and it's just that feeling that you've connected with something really beautiful. Yeah.
Exactly.
It is. So I have a couple fun questions for you, Natasha. You are a famous artist in your own right. Well, I mean, you're really one of New Mexico's most appreciated and loved landscape, pastel, plein air artists. So someday they're going to make a movie about you. Who's going to play you in that movie?
Well, I don't think that's ever going to happen. And but gosh, I don't know. I probably Meryl Streep. You brought her up at one time, and I'm like, I just love her anyway, and I love that she flies her own kite. Nobody flies her kite for her. She flies her own kite. So I just think that probably is the right attitude.
Because I think she could do a Natasha Isenhour. I think she could.
Probably could. Yeah.
So what's something about you that people may not know that's curious or interesting?
I don't know. I might answer this different on different days, but I think sometimes the most interesting things are the things that are dichotomous from what you know now. And whenever I discovered I could paint in 1997, I was working a contract for the Pentagon, doing a top secret DOD clearance job, and it was little bits and pieces of a puzzle that you work on. But I later found out, that I was working on obviously defense things in a facility here in Socorro, and it was soul sucking. So I think the interesting thing is just the dichotomy, because when you finally set yourself down into what is working with your psyche and with who you are inside, it feels like you have just gotten your freedom. And so I think what's interesting is that I spent so much time, several years in that job, and I really hated life. I just really hated life. I wasn't joyful, and I didn't look forward to what tomorrow brought, because it was more of the stuff that just felt so draining. I don't know, maybe that's it.
And being an artist is so different than that, because you are filling your soul, your heart, and every day you're doing what you're passionate about. And if you can show up and do that, that's a good life.
Yeah, and I think also if that's how you're bent and you're doing a job that's really kind of represents everything that you don't, it kills you a little inside, because you're really truly actively participating in something that you resist, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So anyone listening, get out of those soul-sucking jobs, go create art.
Take a workshop. You won't regret it.
Okay, Natasha, if you were a color, what color would you be?
Most days I feel orange, but even though people would argue that white isn't a color, I think I'm white. And the reason I think that I would be white is because I reflect everything around me. I absorb everything around me and am influenced by everything around me. And that's what I think.
Good, good. And orange is a good color too. It is so happy.
It is. It's my happy place.
Oh, that's great. So we're kind of coming to the end of our time together. I want to remind everyone that Natasha is back here at Santa Fe Artist Getaway, teaching Connecting Eyes, Hands, and Heart. And it's a 4-day workshop beginning May 19th. And you can find out more about that at santafeartistgetaway.com. And if you have questions for myself or Natasha, send me a message here and we'll get back to you and answer it. Natasha, any closing comments?
I just, anybody out there, I think Beverly Todd may be the most gracious, lovely human being that I've ever met. And the way that she infuses the place that we get the privilege to teach there at Studio Raven, she infuses that with the most magnificent energy. And I just really applaud you, Bev, because I appreciate as much being around where you are as I do teaching the workshop, because you're such a treasure. And the workshops are great, and she caters a mean lunch. So come see us.
It's about filling the tummy so you can go create.
That's it.
And thank you. Thanks to Natasha. And that really is the goal here, is to have a creative escape where people can truly connect to their most creative inner side. So thank you, Natasha, for joining us today. This has been Beverly Todd at Santa Fe Artist Getaway. Go create and have a great weekend.